Hello, dear students, and welcome back uh, in the module number 1, Introduction to Peripheral Areas. In this third part of lecture number 1, you will get information that will help you further in the process of understanding how to innovate and how to implement innovations in the European peripheral rural areas. Until now, in this module number 1, you learn about what are the peripheral rural areas and what are the main challenges for their sustainable development. In this third part of module number 1, you will find out some opportunities for the future development of European peripheral rural areas. Probably you are wondering what is the most important opportunity existing in peripheral rural area. I will leave you some time to think about it. And I will start counting, yes? 1, 2, until 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And your answer is probably natural resources, I hope. So one of the most important opportunity in the territory of the peripheral rural areas is nature. We are speaking about farming practices that support rich environmental assets, and this rich biodiversity basically is one of the things that differentiate the peripheral rural areas from other regions in Europe. Here are some examples of this biodiversity assets. For instance, for the semi-dry grasslands in Romania, there were observed 44 species for 0.25 meters square, which is even greater comparing with Amazonian forest. Then in the peripheral rural area, another very important assets are the cultural assets. Farming created very specific cultural landscapes. Also, low-intensive farming supported traditions and unique culinary experiences. In these peripheral areas, you can find unique local handcrafts. Another important asset that you can use in the development of these areas are the young newcomers, especially the educated one that wants to engage in the local development. For the eastern part of Europe, diaspora, it's another important asset. Why diaspora, or what is diaspora? We are speaking about people that went abroad for working, so usually from the eastern part of Europe to the western part of Europe, and they are willing to come back in eastern part of Europe and to develop new businesses. Retro-innovations are also important for the future development of peripheral areas. What is a retro-innovation? We are speaking about farming or household practices developed from generation in generation. One example is to keep the milk into a hole that was dug into the soil. That means that there you will have good temperature for keeping the milk. And these kind of retro innovations can be developed and adapted to the reality of the 21st century, and then reapply in farming or in household management. Then now you learn a little bit about what are the main opportunities, and now let's discuss a little bit about the trends that we identify in the peripheral rural area. The first type of trend is the social and institutional development. In the last years, more and more in these kind of areas, we saw associative and collective structure that started to work together. I mean, working together with multi-actor stakeholders. And this is a key for the development of the peripheral area. You cannot develop these regions alone. You need to work together in a multi-actor stakeholder group, and that means to identify the needs, which are for sure are different for these groups, to negotiate, to identify solutions to their problems. And there are different good examples, like in Ireland, the Barrenvale Trust, and so on. Especially in Ireland, they developed a hybrid compensation scheme that was developed together with the farmers. I mean, with the local actors that started to apply it, which is very, very important because it was very soon and very quickly accepted by the stakeholders. The second type of trend that I want to discuss about are the trends in the regulation and in the policy issues. After 2023, the member states have to meet the objectives established by the European Union in several strategic policy decisions like EU Green Deal, Farm to Fork, or Biodiversity Strategy. And the goals are very ambitious, and they are very important for the peripheral rural areas because basically they try to support the conservation of these areas. Like one goal is to protect at least 30% of the EU land and sea in Natura 2000 sites. Organic farming should be increased at least 25% at the EU agricultural land. Then these strategic papers establish important reduction in the pesticides and in the fertilizers use in order to reverse the decline of pollinators. So these are objectives at the EU level. At the local level, what we saw in the last year that member states try to adapt the hygiene standards to the peripheral rural area farming realities. It's very difficult to ask farmers coming from these regions to supply water or electricity 24 hours a day, knowing that these regions can be in mountain areas, where it's very difficult to have this kind of basic services. Now let's move on and to see what happened in farming techniques and management. In farming techniques and management, in the last year, we saw an important trend of digitalization. So that means that digital and robots system are used more and more by the farmers. Unfortunately, this is not possible too often in the peripheral rural areas because the technical systems are not adapted to the farming needs. I mean, the innovations The technical innovations are made usually for the big size farm and very intensive farms, and to a less extent to the small size farms. Use of internet, it's also an important trend. Internet increase, or the use of internet increased a lot in all European rural areas, but still in the peripheral rural areas, the highly debit internet is not present in all farms and in all regions. Then there are also important trends in products and market areas. First of all, the European customers are more and more attentive to what they eat and from where their food is coming. That means that they are attentive to environmental and animal welfare issues. There are farmers. There are farmers that understood that, and they apply product certifications in order to give customers the certitude that the product is coming from a region supporting rich biodiversity assets. Circular economy and short marketing chain, it's another important trend that happened in the last years. There now you can find stores like in the photos presented in this slide, where you can find products coming from the peripheral areas. Another very important trend is about income diversification. Nowadays, households coming from peripheral areas use farming only as one source of income. Then they can do tourism, handcrafts, and others. So this being said, we arrive to the end of this lecture. I mean to the end of module number 2. And now you will move to the next module, where you will learn about how to create a basis for the innovation process in your peripheral rural areas. Thank you for watching this, and I hope it was interesting, and I hope to see you soon in other activities, and why not only in Greece, I mean in the summer school, but also in other modules. Thank you.